All right. Well, I thought an easy one for me was the surprise I got at the beginning of last year, which kind of got me ready for what's been going on right now, I'd imagine. So I was, like you said, I was in Cairns doing breakfast radio. I'd been up there for about 4 years, which was about 4 of my 6 years in radio at the time. And I had gotten offered a promotion down on the New South Wales Central Coast, about an hour from Sydney. Really big opportunity. It was actually one of the places I grew up. My family was there, so I was super stoked that I got this chance. So I got all the kind of offer done, signed up, all that kind of stuff. Got back to work from my holiday, and they go, okay, you're going to start your new job down south in a week. So just get through this last week on air, and then you can come down to the new breakfast show you start on the Tuesday. So I was like, all right, sweet, I'll get through this, no dramas. And what happened was on the Tuesday, we had the Prime Minister on our breakfast show in Cairns. That's Scott Morrison. And it was only recent when ScoMo had actually kind of taken over the top job. And we did our usual thing, had the radio chat. And when you have politicians on the shows, like on radio shows, you've got to do this little song and dance where they get to talk about the things they want to talk about. Then you kind of take the piss with each other a bit, and then they usually go. But before they leave, their media team sits you down and takes about 50 different photos of you and the Prime Minister so they can share it on social media. And me and my co-host were standing there going through all these photos, like just standing, smiling, whatever. And I just happened to be in one of the photos holding a novelty mug that I was using that morning that had cunt written on it. And one of these 50 photos had me standing holding it facing forward, because obviously in the midst of all the photos, I've realized what I'm holding. And the comic in me, the comedian in me, all of a sudden took over the radio host in me and decided to just turn that cup a little bit towards the camera. And it just so happened that out of those 50 photos, that was the one that Scott Morrison shared on all of his social media. So, bit of a surprise for him, bit of a surprise for me as well, to be honest. Anyway, that happened on a Tuesday, and I kind of, as the day went on, kind of realized that's what happened, had a little bit of a laugh about it. And again, I got on Instagram, I think, and took a piss out of the fact that it had happened. And then the next day just got on with my job. On the Wednesday, kind of didn't think much about it, just kind of moved on. And so the cunt mug thing happens on the Tuesday. I go back to work on Wednesday, do the show, get on air on Thursday, my last day on air. We do a big farewell because I've been there for a while. We had guests on, said the byes, got in my car, packed up all of my life into my car, my border collie sitting in the seat next to me, and said goodbye to my girlfriend who was finishing up her job. And she said, all right, babe, like, have a safe trip. I'll meet you down there in a month's time, because I just put in my notice for my 6-figure job, because we're going to follow your radio dream down to the Central Coast. And I was like, sweet as, babe, I'll see you down there. So I drive out of Cairns, and as I'm driving down, this mug photo is starting to do the rounds on Twitter. And news.com writes an article about it. Then another paper writes an article about it. Then my phone starts ringing for people wanting to ask me about it, and I ignore it. I get calls from the people I'm about to work with, and they're like, look, it should be fine. Like, we're just figuring it out. You know, you did fuck up, you know. Anyway, I get to Mackay, because it's such a big drive down, and I spend the night in Mackay. I wake up the next morning, and as I'm driving out of Mackay, I get a call from the head of content for the company, and he says, hey mate, can you come back to the Mackay offices? We've got to have a quick chat. And I was like, oh man, this isn't about the mug, is it? And he replied simply with well, let's chat when you get back here. So I was like, oh man, I think I'm done here. Like, I get back in the car, I turn around, I drive back to Mackay. I've never been to these offices before in my life. So I get there, and it's only 8:30 in the morning. So it's quite early. Like, the workplace hasn't really started. The breakfast shows are on, but everyone else isn't there. So I go up into this office, and the lady who's like setting up the place is like, yeah, just go into this boardroom. I sit at this boardroom, and I'm at the end of a long, like, just classic conference room, you know. I'm at the end of a long table. At the end of the table is a TV screen. And I'm sitting there, and a lady's sitting at the front desk as well. And on the TV screen is the boss that called me. And he's like, oh, hey, Shad, like, thanks for coming. Look, Karen's here to be your support person. Now, I don't know if her name's Karen, I've forgotten, but it's easy fit. So she's like, this is your support person. And it was at that moment I was like, oh, they don't bring a support person into a meeting to be like, hey, mate, good job the other day. Can't wait to see you at the new promotion down south. So I'm already shitting bricks. I'm like, oh, this is so backed up. So we're sitting there, the TV is on, the guy just starts going, look, you know, they talk through the whole situation. I explain to them what happened. And eventually they go off to deliberate. They come back onto the TV screen, and he goes, look, mate, I still remember what they said. He's like, yeah, you embarrassed the Prime Minister, you embarrassed the CEO, you broke our social media policies, you're fired, effective immediately. And then the TV just turns off. So I'm just sitting at the end of this table. TV's done. Karen's still sitting there at the front. I've pushed back. I'm like freaking out going, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to tell my girlfriend who's quit her job now? How am I going to pay my bills? What am I going to do? I'm in Mackay, which is one of the worst towns ever in the world. Like, what am I going to do here? And Karen stands up and turns to me and just goes, oh, I'll go get you a glass of water, mate. And I'm just thinking, that is not what a support person, that is not the kind of support that I'm looking for right now, to be honest, Karen. So she leaves the room. I'm still sitting there freaking out. And I've got my dog in the meeting with me because I wasn't going to leave her in the car for this whole endeavor. So I'm sitting there losing it. My dog walks up to me, tries to lick my face. I push her away. And she walks over to the corner of the room and does a shit on the carpet. And I sit back and I do what anyone listening to this story would do in that moment. I walked over to my dog. I gave her a big pat and I said, good girl. And I grabbed her by the lead and I walked the fuck out of there, got in my car, drove to Brisbane. And that is why I now live here doing stand-up comedy.